Hi, this is David, also known as the X-Man, and this is me doing my first homebrew as a member of the Timbers Army Fermentation Corps. Just briefly, as I'm getting started, I'd like to get some stuff here. I've got my little cook station here, sanitized carboy with thermometer. Got my iodine solution with some stuff in there sanitizing. Over here, I've got my hydrometer in its tube, which I will be using to test for alcohol content. I've got my long-handled strainer, my beer thief for taking my beer sample, iodine solution there next to the Snapple. I've got my yeast sitting out here at room temperature, hoping so that it's ready. Got my dry malt, malt syrup. Got 2 bags of hops separated by my recipe. Irish moss for the clarity of the beer. I've got my digital thermometer, which, as I speak, I'm going to take and test for my water temperature. I'm looking for a target of 150. As you can see right here, we're currently going into the 120s. I need this to be, again, about 150. Alright, well, enough time has passed that temperature's gone up a smidge. I've jumped up the temperature a little bit to get it to heat faster. One little snafu that was discovered is that I bought this particular stock pot here for the purpose of making fresh ricotta cheese, and I discovered upon filling it with water that it is only a 2-gallon pot, which I need 2 gallons of water, and that would actually overflow. So I've only got 1.5 gallons of water in here, so I'm already a little bit off the recipe, but hopefully it won't make too big of a difference. I am about to add my grains so that they can steep. They will not be boiling. So this will be going for about a half hour once I get all of them, there we go, into the pot. So now they're going to steep here, and they are going to flavor my beer. At this point they will start being called wort. So I've got about a half hour. Go ahead and set my 30-minute timer. So yeah, this is beer. See you soon. Okay, so it's been a half hour. I am straining out what is left of my barley. So you can see this is the container which I am currently collecting them in. So as soon as I get this done, then I can start it boiling. And once it starts boiling, then I get to add my my hops, and I get to add my malt syrup, as well as the Irish moss, which will be quite nice. Now I don't have to get all of this out of here, but I'm going to get as much out as possible, because apparently you're not supposed to actually boil these. As you can see, it's steaming quite nicely, as is that. Of course, a lot of this stuff was hanging out down there at the bottom. I suppose some of this is going to end up in there no matter what, so let me go ahead and do that real quick. Put that in the sink. And switch it up to high and let it start to boil. We'll be back when it boils. Alright, so I just added the half of the Cascade hops to the wort here. And it's boiling, so I've got about another 9 minutes before I need to add the rest, along with the malt syrup and the dry malt. So now I'm going to be filling this sanitized milk jug with cold water, so that way I can put it here into the carboy, up to the line there. And that way it'll start to cool the beer as soon as I put it into the carboy. So I'll be back in a few minutes as I add the other ingredients. Okay, so 5 minutes ago the last hops were added. It is done boiling. I've got 2 gallons of water here in my carboy, as well as the sanitized funnel and strainer here. And so I am going to move my stock pot. So let me set this right here for the moment. Sorry, you're going to have to stare at my butt. If I can get this to stand up. No, it's not working. Maybe... no. Okay. Well, so anyway, let me move this. Set that there. Move this here. Okay. Oh, this is heavy. Okay, so now comes the fun part. I've got my wort. It is ready to go. And so now I take my sanitized saucepan and I take my pan and I take and dump it here into the strainer and repeat. Whoa. I just had a bit of an overflow burst there. I'm not entirely sure why. Ah, I see what it is. My strainer does not have a chance to breathe. Or not my strainer, but my funnel does not have a chance to breathe. So, at the moment, it is so warm that it is currently off the thermometer charts. This. As you can see, this is quite full of hops, which is actually a fairly good thing, because that means there's not many in here. Alright, well I'm going to finish this up, and then I'm going to top it off to the 5.5 gallon line with cold water, and I'll report in after that. Okay, so the beer is now into the deal, the carboy, and and I'm still moving stuff out of the way, trying to avoid every mess that I've made. And as you can see, the thermometer is still showing considerable temperature, so I'm going to pull off my lens real quick. And what I'm going to do is set this here. And what I have to do now is mix the beer. I've capped it off, and now I'm mixing it up. Okay. Alright. So now, what I have to do, I'm going to move this up a little further. There we are. I've got my hydrometer in its tube. What I'm going to do now, according to this, is to take a measurement. So, I'm going to pop that up, and my beer thief, drop in here. And as you see, I now have a tube full of freshly mixed beer, at which point I'll drain it here into the tube, and eventually it will float. May have to do this twice. The point of this is to be able to detect my alcohol content. And so, according to my hydrometer, I have a specific gravity of about 1.41. So it's a little bit less than it is supposed to be. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull this out. I'm going to sanitize it again. Pour this back in. And at this point, now I'm going to take my bung with the airlock. It's filled with some of the sanitized water, capped off there for bubble. I'm going to stick that in there. Whoa. So now that's in there, I have to wait for this to get between 78 and 75 degrees. And it can take a few minutes. My stuff got a little bit wet while I was pouring my water in. At this point I'm going to also put that down here into the water. I'm also going to sanitize my thief. So hopefully my temperature will come down slowly, or fast I mean, should come down quickly. But I will go ahead and start filming again as soon as it is. So right now, you can tell by it, it's still kind of warm. Hopefully this will come down quickly. Okay, well, the beer has now been moved to its brewing place, which is here on my desk. And I have here the yeast, which I have shaken so that all the sediment is mixed in with the liquid. And it is time for me to open it up. So, let me pop the lens off again real quick. I'm going to open this right here in front of you. And it started to foam over, which is not a good thing. However, I am now adding the yeast to the beer, making sure to get as much of it in as possible. It's hard to do things while I'm holding a camera, but alright, so there's that. Let me drop that in there, and now put the bung back in. Oop, a little too much there. And there we go. Airlock's in. Yeast is in. Temperature is right about 78, so now it needs to drop to about 72. I'll make sure to check it again later, but that's it. We'll see you when it comes time to bottle. And here we are a little after 10 hours or 12 hours of brewing. And as you can see, there's a nice thick foam here on the top, which means that the fermentation has started. If you watch closely, you can see it bubbling, which is a good thing. As soon as that slows to less than 1 a minute, that means I can bottle my beer. But let's zoom in here in an area where you can see the light. See all the stuff floating around in there? That's the sugars and sediment and everything like that, which is being swirled around by the yeast eating all the sugars in the malts and things like that. So that's the fermentation process down here under the foam. You can see this under the, without the reflection of my little mat here, you can see the layer of sediment down there, which is, you know, stuff that the yeast is going to stir up and all that. But yeah, so about 13 hours in, this is where we're sitting. We'll check in later. Alright, it's about 8 o'clock on day 1 of fermentation. As you can see, since this morning, I only just got home and this is my first time checking. We've got, you know, quite a bit more foam on the beer. And up here, you can see it's bubbling quite a bit. It's pushing the sanitized water there quite high. You see, it's only supposed to be till about here, but then it's pushed through the airlock. Now, if I zoom in here, you can see all the big chunks of the sediment and everything floating around. And part of me wonders if that's the malt extract that didn't quite dissolve while I was doing the initial brewing, because it still clumped a bit, and I don't know that it's supposed to be doing that, but we'll find out. But as you can see here, the temperature is reading in around 70 degrees, which is good. Very good, actually. Part of that has to do with the very cold temperatures outside right now. It's supposed to be snow in the next couple of days. But also I turned down the heat this morning, so maybe I'll have to bump that up just a smidge. I'll take a look and see, but 72 is right about where I'm looking for. 70 on the low side, looks like close to 74 on the high side. So, that's the brew process. As you can see, it's stabilized right here at the 5.5 gallon line. So, we're looking good. we'll check back in a couple days. And here we are, it's towards the end of fermentation day 2. As you can see, I've swapped out the airlock for my siphon tube, a new plastic bung, and a bucket full of sanitized water, because all of this foam here was getting stuck to the bottom of my other bung, and it would blow the air out through the airlock and actually was pretty nasty. So now I've got this airline rigged up with advice from my brewers, and as you can see, it's currently blowing the air out here, which is basically the same as what it was doing before. So much cleaner. As you can see, I've got spills all down the carboy from the overflow. It was pretty gross. At one point I even tried using some of this whiskey here in order to give it a little bit heavier fluid to have to fight through, but they suggested doing this for a couple more days until the maybe some of the foam stops coming out, and then I should be able to go back to the airlock, which is currently resanitizing. My temperature is going down, so I need to up my room temperature here. But yeah, so there's that, and I will keep updating. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is day 9 since I started doing the beer. As you can see here, it's, not got all the floaty things like it did previously. There's stuff stuck to the sides on the inside, but you don't see anything moving around. Temperature here is hovering right around 70 degrees. The air bubbles, as you can see, I have replaced the hose into the bucket that was sitting here with the airlock again. The water looks a little dirty because there is whiskey in there instead of actual water. But the air bubbles have slowed to less than a minute, so we are actually at the point where if I had enough bottles on hand, I would be able to start bottling the beer. So you can see the layer of stuff is, kind of been eaten away by the yeast. And even down here now you can see what's left, which is the waste products. One of the things that I've noticed over the last week is that, as the air was coming out, especially when I was having that overflow problem, I would be getting, some of these like fruit flies that would be buzzing around in my room, and I've seen them. But if I zoom in to right here, you can actually see where some of them somehow have gotten underneath the air cap and drowned themselves in the whiskey. And there's actually another one that's stuck up there on there. So they'll have to be removed when I go and start bottling, which if I don't do it over the weekend here, it's a Friday now, and I probably wouldn't be able to get my bottles anyway. I'll probably try and get that done on Sunday, which might mean giving up some of my football time or giving up some of my sleep, but that way it will be ready to drink in about a week. So, when it comes time for bottling, there will be more. Alright, well, it is bottling day. As you can see, I've got 12 new 22 bottles right here that have been sanitized and are drying. Got another 8 right there. Got 7 tall boy 12-ounce bottles right there, along with all the upside down ones right there, which are drying. These ones I still have to drain. As you can see, I have been siphoning the beer into the clean carboy, to which I just added the 2 cups of boiled water with corn sugar in it, which will give the carbonation for the bottling. That's the story so far. Over here, got my bottle cap with the first bottle marked there. I've already gone and cleaned my bucket out, my overflow bucket. And yeah, so that's it. When it's time to start bottling, I'll film the historic first bottle, and then I will show you everything else that I've done. You know, the final tally. Okay, so I lied. I've already filled 12 here, my new bottles, and those 4 right there. So you can see that one there is very clearly marked, my first bottle. I've got this much beer left. It started off right about here. And so I will go through this process here with you. I'll go ahead and pop the deal there. So now it's filling. I fill it as close to the top as I can get. Which with some of these darker bottles it's hard to tell. I'm going to move this a little forward. Okay, it's coming up to the neck. Alright. So you can see on the filler here, you got that little needle tip, which when I put that into the bottle, it starts to disperse the liquid, but in its down position, it does not dispense any liquid. Now, I've got to load a cap into this, and hang on a sec. Don't know. So I just pull on these handles and it fills, or it closes it off. Alright, well here we have the brewing carboy. It's currently got the powdered brewing wash inside it, along with about a gallon of water, hot water. And it's soaking all the crap off of the top of the carboy where all that foam and everything was. It's also doing a cleanse on the inside. You can still see, like here, there's some stuff there, and there's stuff there that you can see that keeps dripping down. And this is going to soak for an hour, and then I get to rinse it out. I've got the powdered wash ready to go in this one, my I guess you call it a rack carboy. Here we have the 8 pre-used bottles. We have the 12 down here for 22s, so there's a total of 20 22s. And down here, all these gold caps is 19 12-ounce bottles. The majority of the 22s are going to be given out as gifts for Christmas, depending on how this beer turns out. And the rest of these I'll give out, you know, some, and I'll keep some and see how it turns out. But we're looking at about 5% alcohol content on this bad boy. So this is going to be David's Northwest Pale Ale until I come up with another name for it. Thank you very much for joining me for my first brewing experience. It started on the Wednesday before last, and it's currently Sunday afternoon. So about 15 days. No, not that long. We're looking more at about 12 days. 12 days. So yeah, thank you very much.